right. Welcome back into the show, and I am super excited for this one. Today, I got on my guy, Asher Smith. Super excited for this episode. Asher, how we doing, man?
Doing great, man. Football's over. Basketball season finally.
I
Feeling
know.
good.
I know. It's
March.
March. It's
Can
March,
feel it in the
man.
air. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. What was it? I've been on Twitter like a maniac recently, ever since getting out of the hospital. And all I'm hearing on Twitter and all I'm seeing is John Rothstein counting down till March the whole time. And I'm like, man, I'm pumped. I'm super excited, man. It's that time of year again. And I re-listened to our last podcast and we got some stuff right. We got some stuff wrong, but I'm just happy to be back. I'm excited for this one, and we're gonna go through everything going on. So let's start out with some of the top dogs going on right now. Talk to me about what you've seen from the top dogs. Clearly, it was UConn that we talked about, and Purdue, and those are the main ones that have stayed on top. But talk to me about what you've seen from those top dogs.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say first, the listeners are glad to have you back, buddy. Glad to hear you're back talking basketball, and congrats on cutting down the nets last
Yes,
week. That was
sir.
sweet.
Yes, sir.
So we can
Appreciate it.
start with the Grizzlies. But no, I mean, I think that everybody who started to watch college basketball last 2 weeks has noticed that there's like a clear team in each conference that is taking care of business this year. And I think you and I mentioned every single team. It wasn't hard to see. Usually the oldest teams, the most talented teams that brought people back, they've been dominating. So Purdue, Houston, Arizona, even some other Big 12 teams like Kansas and Baylor have been able to kind of take care of what people thought would be a very even conference and get a lot of wins in the middle of the dog days when teams are getting tired. Some teams don't have the experience, guys who have been there before, and they've been able to rack up some wins. So it isn't a surprise who we're looking at. I think we spent last two podcasts together talking about UConn. They've been
Yeah.
able to take care of business. It isn't a secret, right? Best players have been winning. The best coaches have been doing well. They're gearing up for March. It's an exciting time to start watching college basketball if you haven't been. But for those who have, those are the teams that have been on your screen the whole year, and nothing's changed there.
Yeah, yeah, I mean for sure. And talking about those teams a little bit, UConn sitting near the top, 26-3. They're number 2 right now, and the two main guys are Tristan Newton to me and Donovan Klinging. I mean, these guys are just unbelievable. Newton, he's on the Player of the Year watch. I mean, he's not really too far up there, but some of his numbers have just been ridiculous throughout the year. He's averaging 15, 7, and 6, which is just really impressive to me. Whenever I see a guy averaging more than 15 points, more than 5 rebounds, more than 5 assists, just crazy to me. That's a guy that can do it all. And watching that Creighton, what was it? I think it was the Marquette home game. That's what it was. He had a monster game, absolute monster game. And Marquette, they didn't have Kolek, and UConn was just able to control the game and able to win that game. But UConn to me is just really impressive team from top to bottom. Hurley's done an unbelievable job. And looking at for me, the other top dogs would probably be Houston, Purdue, and Tennessee. And we kind of put them into categories beforehand. Houston, just an unbelievable defensive team, leading the country in defensive efficiency. They're just ridiculous. And they do it every year. They play a physical style, physical brand of basketball. Some people say it gets them in trouble in March, but like they've been able to bring that to the Big 12, and they're kind of dominating in conference. They're near the top, and nobody's catching them. Iowa State's the closest. Iowa State's another impressive team. But Houston, to me, Jamal Sheed, it's unbelievable. Great guard for them. And they just got that defense and that length, so they're going to be a tough out, whoever it is. And then Purdue, we've talked about it. I'm not going to go too far in depth, but it's Edey and those guards, unbelievable. They've been great. And then Tennessee, to me, Tennessee is up there because, first of all, defensive efficiency, they're great. They're a great defensive team. And Connect, man. Dalton Connect. That is a name to remember. He's unbelievable, averaging
He's fun to
24,
watch.
4 rebounds, 40% from 3. I mean, the improvement from him has just been sensational. And you don't see it in the numbers because he averaged 20 points last year. But he's just an unbelievable player. He's impressive to me. You got anything to add on those teams? I mean, I just think these are the top tier teams to me. Arizona, you can put in there if you want to. They're great too. But these teams are just unbelievable to me and have been on a different level.
Yeah, 100%. I think that Arizona's close, but the 4-1 seeds at the moment are clearly above the rest. And I think you mentioned a couple top dogs that we'll talk about later in terms of leading their team. And the funny part about this year is that it's still a big man's league. Like the difference between the NBA and college basketball, like we talked about, is the big man play.
Yeah.
But the teams that have been playing really well have excellent guards, and I feel like we've been missing that the last couple of years. Teams with excellent guards might fall off in the regular season, make a postseason run. Kind of got to put it all together. This year, top five teams have some of the best guards we've seen, including Dalton Connect, which I said 6'6" guard who averaged 20 last year. Didn't even make his first team all conference. Now he's at an SEC school, going crazy. So the step up from the guards, Purdue we'll talk about. Arizona clearly, UConn, Cam Spencer, I think his name is playing excellent. So
Yes.
the
Yeah.
guards have really distinguished themselves on the top five teams, which we expected, but it's cool to see before the tournament starts.
100%, 100%. And these will be the juggernauts going into the tournament. And I'm sure they're going to be the main teams that a lot of people pick. And so the next topic we're going to get into is like teams we like going into the tournament. And they're not really like the top tier, which I think those five teams would probably be like your top tier teams, but they're definitely up there and definitely should be put into consideration whenever you're talking about them, really. And to me, the first team that I really like that I think like should be in this tier and is close to it is Iowa State. And I wanted to talk about them a little bit because I watched the Iowa State Houston game, and the defensive intensity throughout the whole game was just sensational. Okay, this is the best defensive efficiency team in Houston and the second best defensive efficiency team in Iowa State. And Iowa State's incredible. TJ Olsenberger is their coach, and he has just made a sensational team that defends really hard. And then they got this guy, I don't know what country he's from, but his name's Milan Monsinovic, something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but he is just a very talented scorer, and he's tall. He's about like 6'10". He can shoot. He moves around. He's very hard to guard, and I feel like if you got skilled guys like that, and then they got a couple guards that can really score the ball and do things like, and you got that defensive intensity that they have, they're a little bit of a scary team to me. They're going to be a scary 2 seed, and a lot of people are just going to overlook them. But the fact that they've been able to stay on top of a stacked Big 12 to me is just really, really hard to do. And to me, that's why Iowa State is probably the main team that I like almost the most that people would be overlooking going into the tournament. Asher, give me one before we move on. We're going to kind of go back and forth and talk about them. But what are your thoughts on Iowa State first?
100%. I think Iowa State, main thing is coaching. He's able to get the best out of his guys. I think his style of play is what we thought Arkansas might be doing this year,
Yeah.
which clearly they are not. But something where like the coach isn't the central focus of his team, but it's clearly his scheme that they're running, and his name's going to be all over the boards for new coaching jobs next year. I hope Iowa State retains him because he's running a great program there. So very excited to see them. Will they be the two that gets upset by Princeton, or will they go far? Like I can't tell you, but it's going to
Yeah.
be exciting to
Yeah.
watch in the Big 12 tournament. That is for sure. I
100%.
will. I will pivot. I will raise. I see your Iowa State. I'll raise you Creighton. The Creighton
Okay.
Blue Jays are my
I like
favorite
it.
team this year.
I like it.
If you look at their home stats, you'd think this is the best team that has ever been put together in college basketball history. And, that is definitely scary going into March, where obviously anything can happen at any time. Will these guys play like the away team we've seen against top dogs, or will they play like the home studs who have won, two top five games in a row at that place? What I like about them is that their fans travel, they're experienced. Like people think Big East, they don't think Creighton, right? It's literally the most Western team in the Big East. It's new to them, but they've been weathered by that Big East storm, and they have the team to do it. Shireman is unbelievable as a basketball player, and he's someone that you can like. If you remember the heroes of March, the past couple of years, like he's got the mold. He is 40% from three, unbelievable on the offensive end, can also play defense with some bigger guards. Like he is someone that I think could carry the team on his back while also having an awesome supporting staff. So I also like McDermott. I think they got bounced early last year by San Diego State, not early, but earlier than they wanted to. And I think they're coming back with a vengeance. I like Creighton.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you on Creighton. Like that, the Big East is stacked. It's flat out stacked again. And really, Marquette. UConn and Creighton have separated themselves from the packs at the top, and then Seton Hall and Villanova a little bit behind. But I mean, these teams have been very tough to deal with, and Creighton is just the exemplary of that. They beat
100%.
they beat a pretty solid Central Michigan team to start the year with a 109-64. Central Michigan actually near the top of the MAC, just shouting them out a little bit. And then they actually beat Alabama to start the year, which I think is a very impressive win. Alabama played everybody. It seemed like their schedule was just unbelievable throughout the year. But I mean, you saying those wins, like they just beat UConn 85-66, which is very impressive. They just beat Marquette. And again, that's without Kolek, but still, that's a very impressive win. You know,
Right.
they've been playing very, very well. And Baylor Shireman, man, if you're averaging 18.5 points a game, which he is, like, that's just very impressive. It's really impressive. And then Trey Alexander, another guard that's been very good for them, averaging 5 assists a game. But it's gonna be tough to deal with. And they also got Cockburner, their center. He was pretty solid in the tournament last year.
Right.
He's shooting 60. I think his field goal percentage is 65%. Like, that's just ridiculous. It's flat out ridiculous. And that's what you get with the 7-footer, but still being able to shoot that way, that's really impressive to me. I like Creighton too. I just think the Big East is tough, man. Like, you got two teams that are just like with Marquette. I think Kolek's coming back with a vengeance, and I think UConn's the best team in the country.
Right.
We talked about it off air right away, but I want to get it on air here. UConn and Arizona are the only two teams that are up there in offensive and defensive efficiency. We talk about how we want to be top 10 in both. There's no team top 10 in both, but they're the closest. So, UConn's a tough out to get past. But I think
Yeah.
Creighton, like a clear, without Kolek, a clear number 2, and then with Kolek probably sitting at that 2-3 range. So I like Creighton too. I think they're going to be a very tough out, when it comes tournament time. Another team that I kind of wanted to discuss here, and I'm going to actually go to the SEC. I like Florida a lot. Florida is a team that just got bounced out of the top 25 and started losing a couple games, but they're a team that could definitely be interesting come tournament time because they're a really good rebounding team. And they're very strong, physical, and I can't remember the coach's name, but this coach is a young coach, and he's gotten his guys to really play hard for his team. And I love those kind of teams that just play hard and they're all over the place. I really think that this is going to be a scary team, and I'm excited for that 100%. I think they're going to be a tough out when it comes to March.
100%. I think that Florida was on my teams that were being underrated right now. Obviously, they had those 2 losses, so that's probably why you're seeing that reflected. But they're a dangerous team. They're so young. They're so talented. That coach is unbelievable. What he did at San Francisco, obviously, to bring
Yeah.
them back. Now at Florida, guy's made a 20-win seasons. It's very impressive. It's not his first go around too. This is his second year there, right? He's built something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
very impressive. I do like their style of play. I think it's, a good counter to like how Alabama and Kentucky and everyone else is pushing this 100 points per game in a season. Florida can do it on both ends, and that's very impressive to me. Like, they will make you shoot the ball over them instead of obviously letting you go to the basket, but they can also run. So I think they're very adaptable, which will be big in March. Are they experienced enough? I'm not sure, but I think they'll be fun to watch at least.
Yeah, for sure. All right, who's your next team that you like? We'll do maybe a couple more just to
Sounds
get it
good.
going.
Yeah, I can go one more and give back to you. I think San Diego State is another team that I
Yeah,
like a lot. Obviously, picking them in that conference to win it all isn't a surprise. It's a better conference than it was last year, which is crazy because I think it sent
mm-hmm.
6 teams last year, but they've got some competition. It's just look at consistency, right? Final 4 team, losing a lot of pieces, retaining their coach, retaining some of their starters, but would they be able to do it again? And I think they're right back in it. And I'm very, very impressed by their style of play, how they're able to hold teams to under 60 if they want to, but also, like we said, contain everyone with their offensive shooting game. Like, it's very impressive work. So I think they're for real. I don't think this is like a, ghost of last year ranking them this high. They are going to be a 4 or 5 seed that everyone is going to take into that Elite 8, and for good reason. They're a very good team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Like, looking at their schedule this year, they had a really hard schedule. And a lot of like casual college basketball fans will say, it's not great, like they're out of conference. But I'm looking at all these teams, they're all sitting at the top of their mid-major conferences.
Right.
You see San Diego's at the top of their conference. You see Irvine at the top of their conference. Gonzaga at the top of their conference. They beat all these teams. Fresno State is a solid team in their conference. And then looking at the Mountain West standings right now, San Diego State's fourth. But the
Right.
thing is like there's 7 teams that are legit in this conference. Like all 7 of them. Utah State, legit. Boise State, legit. Nevada, San Diego State. Those 4 will probably all make the tournament. And New
Yep.
Mexico's got an argument, and UNLV's been really good in conference.
Right.
They're a scary team there. So I really think this team's really good. They still got Micah Parrish, my guy, got to put him
Yep.
out there.
Your guy.
But the guy that really stands out to me for that team is Jaden Ledee. He's unbelievable. Okay. I think in the betting odds, he's like top 10 in the Wooden Award watch. But Ledee, watching him at the beginning of the year, I believe I watched the St. Mary's game where they actually won pretty handily against St. Mary's, another team that's a great win there. And they lost to BYU early, but BYU's been great this year. But Jaden Ledee dominated the whole game, just flat out dominated, scoring inside at will. He's averaging about 20 points a game, great rebounder. He just came out of nowhere. The improvement from him is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So that's a guy I really like, and I think he'll be the story of March Madness for them. So I'm looking forward to seeing San Diego State do something in the future. But that conference, man, is flat out insane. I'm really looking forward to that Mountain West tournament. That's going to be exciting. Staying in the Mountain West, I want to talk about Utah State. Okay.
Okay.
Utah State is the next team that I really, really like. And this originated from my time in the Cayman Islands with Oakland. Okay. So we lost to Drake, and we all thought that Drake was just going to run away with the tournament. We were like, okay, this team's unbelievable. There's no way that they're not winning this tournament, And we're like, all right, it's probably going to happen. Okay. Then we see the next game that Stephen F. Austin beats Drake. We're like, whoa, what happened? No way Stephen F. Austin's this good. Come on. And they're a really physical defensive team, and they got them to play that style, and Tucker DeVries just didn't really play well. So
Right.
Drake ended up losing the game. So then it's like, okay, it's Stephen F. Austin and Utah State. I don't really know much about Utah State, so Stephen F. Austin is probably going to win this game, right? Stephen F. Austin gets killed, absolutely demolished. Utah State beats him by 35 and wins the tournament. And I'm like, okay, this Utah State team, if they could do that to them, it's for real. Absolutely for real. And they've shown it throughout the whole year. Some of their key players his name's Great Ozabar. That's his name. That's a cool name to me. Great. That's awesome.
Great basketball
Yeah,
name.
exactly. He's averaging 17 points per game. He's their leading scorer, 9 rebounds. And then their point guard, Darius Brown, another guy he's 11, 5, and 6. That's a very impressive stat line to me, controlling the ball, and he's a very good defender too. Utah State's got a great defense, and they got some great wins out of conference too. They beat UC Irvine, they destroyed Marshall, who was a solid team. They beat St. Louis, all those wins are absolutely huge, absolutely huge. So, I think it's going to be for Utah State. I think they're just going to be a tough out, and could definitely do something in the tournament for sure. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think they'll be scary, 100%.
Yeah, totally agree. I've seen all the things that you're pointing out. I would expect them, honestly, to take care of business here in this conference tournament. Again, whether they can do what San Diego State did last year, I have my doubts, but that's just because I probably need to see it to believe it. I'm all for what San Diego State's putting forward, but you can't hit on the hot hand. Like they're definitely the best team in that conference, and they've proved it. So it's going to be super fun to watch those two battle it out.
100%. I'm really looking forward to that tournament because the Mountain West kind of shocked me for how good it is. And, I'm really impressed with it. All right, let's pick one more team. Okay. If you had to pick like maybe your favorite team, someone that like would jump out at you as like an upset kind of team, who would you pick?
I hope I'm not stealing yours, but the one team I'm super super excited to watch is South Florida. Not sure how many games that
Oh,
you've
I
caught
like
of
it.
them. They're
I
actually
like
ranked now, so I may seem even behind the times. But I remember watching them when they went on that, I think it was 3 game run against top 25 teams. They are a
it.
fun team. They come out in their neon green, just absolutely gash from all over on the floor. It is super super fun to watch what they're doing in South Florida. So again, I don't know if their players will be there next year or if they'll be on different teams. I'm not sure what type of program they're actually running because they're so out of nowhere for me. Didn't even have them on my radar. But what their guards are doing is just like completely what you want to see in March, right? Like they'll take over a game if they need to, or they'll be have 12 assists, throw lobs, and their whole team's involved. Like it's just so much fun to watch, and I am very excited for them.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of came out of nowhere, man. They're a very impressive team. I kind of thought Dayton was just going to run through that conference, and South Florida's come out of nowhere and kind of stealing the spotlight. So, you know, very impressive with that team. And my team, my big team that I really
We
like
got
is Charleston. Charleston. And
whoa,
I kind of fell in love with them last year with their shooting and with all that, but they're back. Okay, they're back and they're shooting really well. And I really think they're going to get out of their conference tournament. The it's kind of got a good line for them to make it out. So I feel like that's going to happen. And then they're again top 5 in shooting. And I love teams that can hit the three. And those teams do have some success in March Madness. And they're my team. They're my team. I'm back on them. And I think they're definitely going to be a big upset watch moving forward for sure.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, the last segment before we move on to our National Player of the Year segment, we're gonna do a fun segment after the break, but that segment's gonna be if not Edie, then who? Which I'm excited for. I'm excited for that one. We'll just go through some players that we like in that segment. But I want to do an overrated segment. Okay.
Okay,
I have 2 teams that I really think are super overrated, and I watched a lot of them this year and I'm so sick of them. I'm just so sick of them. There's like a few players I like on both the teams that make me want to watch them, but other than that, I'm sick of them. So I'm going to let you start. Who would you say is overrated so far this year?
well, I only have one, and I hope I'm not taking yours. I know you're more of a hater than I am, clearly. But the team that I'm absolutely sick of is Virginia.
Virginia. Okay, okay, I like it.
Yeah,
I
it
like
is someone that I was like looking at the beginning of the year. I was like, all right, like, yeah, don't fall asleep. You're gonna want to pick them to get upset again because of how it
it.
ended last year, and they score 49 points a game, and it's just someone that clearly like could drive you mad if you have any money on that game. Don't bet on Virginia. But man, I think that there's just something about that 20-win season that seems fake to me. Like
Yeah,
I would want their coach on my team. I hope I get their coach on my team. Like I'm not saying that Tony Bennett isn't the greatest, but it is just infuriating to watch that team shoot the ball. Like
yeah,
they are better off getting a 30-second violation every single play
it
than
is
they are running
very
an
true,
offense. And
man.
I don't understand it. I think that the fact they're third in the ACC is a joke.
Yeah,
UNC and North Carolina are they're not down the top 10, but clearly, they're not running away with that conference. Virginia could do something. And I think that's, absolutely a sham. So would not pick them this year. I think that they're going out first round. That's just my call though.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're sitting at 12th in defensive efficiency. And if you watch any of their games, like it's so boring. It's so boring, and like they can't score. So there's
They
games where
can't.
like if they run into a hot team, they lose by 30. And it's
They
like
score 49 in wins and they score 49 in losses. Like I don't understand why
exactly.
that team can't hit 50.
Yeah, no, I mean it's bad. It's bad. And this year too, like there's no one guy to watch. Like normally they
Right.
have that one guy where it's like, okay, he can score or he's a top 10 pick, like when they had DeAndre Hunter. And then Kiki Clark was the other guy that could really score for them. They don't have that this year, which makes
They
it
don't.
really tough. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. They're probably going to be overrated come tournament time, and I could see them being out early. I agree with that. So my 2 teams, I'll just go through them quickly. They're both
Yep.
SEC teams, and they're both just offense. It's Kentucky and Alabama. Okay, I'm sick of both of them. All right, and I watched a lot of these teams.
Totally opposite to Virginia.
Yeah, totally opposite, 100%. And I watched a lot of these games, and with Kentucky, the only one I love is Reed Shepherd. I love watching him play. He's unbelievable. He's all over the place. I'm gonna be gushing over him in the NBA draft. Like I love him. He's a perfect NBA guy. That's gonna be great. He had that unbelievable stretch. I think it was against what was it, Texas A&M, maybe? I don't know, where he hit
Sounds right.
that game winner and all that stuff. But he was really impressive there. I like him. With Kentucky, it's just like there's no defense at all. And I like their players. I like their big that they got. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but Rob Dillingham's really good. They got guys that, you know, make you watch, but there's no defense on the other side. And the thing is they turn the ball over all the time. They're just so young. And I talk myself into Kentucky every year. It's not happening this year. Like they turn the ball over all the time. And me watching them play is just frustrating because it feels like they can be so much better. And it feels like they have all these guys where it's like, I talked myself into Casey Wallace so much because I knew he'd be a great pro, but he just wasn't good in college. He was so young. He's so
Right.
young. And you talk yourself into these players and it just doesn't work to me. And I'm shocked Cal hasn't switched anything or anything. And I love Cal. I'm one of those guys that really like him. But to me, I'm sick of Kentucky and I'm kind of over it. And I feel like you need a little bit of a defensive identity, though. I mean, it's not a coincidence that their only championship came with Anthony Davis and they had a defensive identity. That's not a coincidence to me. So, that's my take on Kentucky there. Alabama, same thing. They just shoot a lot of threes and there's no defense on the other side. They're first in offensive efficiency. I couldn't find them on the defensive efficiency list. Like that's just
Right.
frustrating to me. I feel like you need to be at least top 50, in defense for me to take you seriously. And I just don't think that those one-sided things help you in winning a championship, And with Alabama, like, you see it all the time. It's like, oh my gosh, their offense efficiency off the charts. And then in the tournament, it's like, oh, they can't hit a shot. Like, what's going on here? You know?
Right.
And that's the thing with them. So to me, those teams would be overrated in my opinion. And like I just don't love them. That's why I like a Florida team more than them. Do you agree with that take a little bit?
I do. I don't disagree at all. I think that in a weird way it might help them.
Yeah.
And bear with me here. The fact that Tennessee and South Carolina are the best two teams in the SEC is like good for Alabama and
True.
Kentucky. Like get the
True.
spotlight off them, get them a seed that they don't deserve. Like put them against someone that everyone's going to pick them against. Like they need the critics, because there
Yeah,
should be
they
no
do.
praise going to those teams. But at the same time, I think I could actually see them winning games. Right? That was I think the difference with my team and yours. It's like I think that those teams, if they are on, could win. I would not pick them with my smart money, but at the same time, like while the SEC might not be the best conference, I think it's the deepest. So they've
Yeah.
kind of gotten beat up, they've had some scars, and they've still won. I think that it could be optimistic about them making it a couple rounds, but I completely agree. Once that rubber hits the road in the
Yeah.
tournament, they're going to get exposed in a couple ways.
See, like, I feel like with my opinion of like overrated is like I feel like people are gonna fall in love with them and pick them to go like Final Four. And
Yeah,
to me, these teams aren't Final Four teams. To me, these teams are win one game and be disappointing in losing a second round game, or be disappointing in losing in the Sweet 16. Because I feel like with Kentucky, it's like, okay, we got to get to the Elite Eight. Like, we haven't been there in forever. And with Alabama, it's almost the same thing. We got to get past the Sweet 16. We were just a one seed with Brandon Miller and like fell off,
yeah.
But
I think also that if you look at the top four we were talking about, those teams took a step
yeah.
last year, right? And you
Hmm.
you could say yourself these did. Obviously, losing the best college player last year, Brandon Miller, is not helpful to take a step. But like they didn't take a step where they needed to. They
Hmm.
continued to go down this offensive path, which
Yeah.
is great. It's fun to watch. It'll win you games, but it's not complete.
Hmm.
Purdue, they stepped up their guards. They stepped up their defense, right? They got
Yeah.
transfers to help out. Arizona, transfers to help out, right? So other teams, everything they add is just doing the same thing, and they're doing it in a different flavor than last year, but not one that's going to really change the tide for me. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. Um, All right. Well, we're gonna take a little break. So that was a good little 30-minute segment, and
Perfect.
we'll give you if not Edie, then who coming up next.
Hello, hello. This is Giovanni Mosheri. You may have heard me a couple times on Jake's Takes. I am the sports media director of Oakland University's campus radio station, WXOU, and I've been the host for about 2 years of a weekly sports show called The Jomo Show, where we cover all of Oakland University athletics, including a weekly update on scores and highlights, as well as interviews with athletes or those otherwise involved in athletics. You can listen to The Jomo Show live on WXOU Thursdays at 6, or you can tune in to me afterwards on Spotify. It's The Jomo Show.
All right. Welcome back into the show. And let's get going with if not Edie, then who? Let's get going with that. So we're gonna
It's
do
going to be Edie.
yeah, it's definitely gonna be Edie. The odds are ridiculous. The betting odds are insane in favor of Edie. So it's definitely gonna be Edie. So what we're gonna do for this is we're gonna kind of do like a draft. So I'm gonna have Asher start, and we're just gonna draft people on like who we think have had just a really insane year and should like would be deserving of the talk if Edie wasn't so dominant. And we talked a lot about Purdue in the past podcast. So if you want to listen to those past podcasts to hear about Purdue, you can go do that. Purdue's just been sensational this year. So we're not going to cover them too much. We'll definitely cover them when the bracket hits and what we expect and stuff like that. So let's talk about it. Asher, you got the first pick. Go ahead. Give me who you got.
Love it. First pick, stay center. I'm going to go Hunter Dickinson, my guy.
Okay. Okay.
Take him off the board right away. Kind of surprising that he's not as high on people's list. I think because he's averaging that same line, that 19 and 10, right? Like people expected some crazy Luka Garza 30 and 15 line, right?
Yeah.
But you got to remember he left the Big Ten, right? Like he left a type of basketball where they're all center based. He's getting every shot, and he's going to a team that's trying to win it all. And they got the tools to do it. They wouldn't have it without him. Like I'll say right now, he's making that offense spread out. He's, drawing double teams against 3-point shooters. Like it's something that like they've needed for a while. And he was the perfect fit. And, I can say that he was right in leaving and all that stuff. But he definitely is doing it to go on a run, and I think he's ready for it. So that's 1-1 for me. It's not close. I think if he was in Big Ten, he would actually get it over Edie, and that's a hot take, but I think he would.
Wow. Okay. I like it. Yeah, I mean, Kansas sits right now about fifth in the Big 12 standings right now, and tied for fourth in that range. They're tied with BYU, Texas Tech. Yeah, just those two. But
Yep.
and I feel like that's probably more the reason why he's sitting lower is just the
Totally.
success there. I think a lot of people expected Kansas to just be at the top of the Big 12.
Right.
And they were kind of the clear favorites there. They also got Kevin McCullough, who's been sensational this year. And to me, like he's had a great year. 18 and 10 is fantastic. He's shooting 56% from the field. Is the 3-pointers a little bit down? He was up at like 40% last year, if I'm not mistaken. He's down at 34.5. But the thing is he's just a monster, flat out monster. Like can score anytime he wants. He's really sensational on that end. I just feel like with this Kansas team, like if they were winning more, I think they would clearly be up there. The Big 12 is just so tough, so tough.
Yes.
BYU kind of came out of nowhere this year. I think they were second in 3-point shooting, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't watched them too much, but that seems to kind of be their game. And then Baylor, we talked about them a little bit. They were one of your sleepers. They've been really, really good throughout the whole year. They played Houston in a really, really close game that I was able to watch. And then they also just beat Kansas in that great game in Baylor. So they just haven't been able to sneak out of those games. And Iowa State and Houston have kind of climbed to the top. So to me, like I like that take that he would be up there with Edie, but I just don't know if he's done enough to like propel it there.
Agreed. I didn't see Iowa State coming. I think we talked about Houston. Like they definitely coming into a conference. What they're doing is incredible, but they're so good. I think it's more that they're like self-built this team for March, right? You see Kansas, you see the Big 12, you're like, oh, they're supposed to win it. Not this year, right? Like they're building it for something bigger. And he's taken, last year he missed it. He's got an appetite, but he took Michigan to the Elite Eight and Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Kind of on his back the first 2 years, right? At least points wise. So
Yeah.
They got him for a reason. It wasn't to win the Big 12. It didn't work out that way because they are probably the best conference, no doubt. Big East maybe second, or tied for first there. But, come March, like watch out for the Jayhawks, obviously. It
Oh,
doesn't need to be said.
100%.
But
Yeah.
I think that's why I've got him, in my 1-1 spot, because tournament player of the year, wide open, right? And I think he would be that guy unless McCullough goes nuclear.
Yeah. I mean, like I would pick Kansas to be that team out of the Big 12 tournament. 100%,
True.
because they're a team that would be overlooked as a 5 seed and would have that chip on their shoulder to prove people wrong. And that's why Kansas hasn't fallen out of the top 15 all year. Like, even with the losses, it's like they're still playing teams tough. They're still like right there. I think they're sitting at 14 right now. They're just a really tough team to like count out
Yep.
100%. And they got all that talent, and Dickinson is clearly the best player on that talent. So I like that you put him one. I just feel like there's other guys, and
Fair enough.
I'll kind of get to
Who
them
you
in my
got?
second pick. My second pick, I talked about him a little bit earlier. Dalton Connect, man. Dalton Connect is awesome. Okay, this Tennessee team has been great all year. Connect 20 points per game, 4 rebounds, about 2 assists a game, 40% from 3. Like, just coming in to Tennessee and doing this has been so impressive to me, so impressive. And they're controlling the SEC. Right there. You also got Zakai Ziegler on that team, who I love. He's back playing great. And I really like this Tennessee team. He's been sensational this year, and he's just such a good scorer from 3 levels. He can do it all. And I think he's the clear number 2 guy, in my opinion. For this, he was number 1 on my board. So I'm going to go Connect there. I think he's just a sensational scorer, and is going to continue bringing Tennessee to new heights.
No, that's great. He was on my board as well. I almost had him at 1, just because watching him is like, I didn't want to turn the TV off, and that's what you need in March. But you're right, like he does do it on every single end. It's not like he's a one-hit wonder. He's got the size for defense, but he can also score all 3 levels. Like, it's perfect. And I think that Sky Ziegler definitely is going to help him out a lot getting looks in March, because he takes a lot of that pressure. But they're going to know who's going to get the ball at the end of the shot clock. So I'm excited to see how he kind of deals with that. Knowing that they're a great team, ball's got to be in his hands. So I'm going to wonder how he's going to deal with that come March. That'll be very exciting to watch.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it 100%. And I like that you had Dickinson like ahead, because he's kind of done more. We've seen him more, and like we're kind of like aware of that. So like, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I like that you picked him right away, because I feel like he's kind of that guy. With Connect, man, I've just watched him and I'm like, gosh, like he's awesome, and I've kind of just bought into that hype, bringing him there.
100%. Yeah. And I think that, we could talk about it forever. I knew you probably weren't picking Hunter 1 in your spot, but I also think that I've seen him when their expectations aren't as high versus when they are.
Exactly.
And he
Yeah.
thrives when he's got great talent around him. He finally has that again, right? It's like freshman year Michigan all over again. He's got NBA guys around him. It's when he succeeds, I expect him to. But Connect, definitely leader, and if not Edey, I would have him regular season for sure.
100%. All right, so who do you got next? Who would you have next?
All right, so third overall, I had Caleb Love from Arizona.
Okay.
So,
okay, I like it.
Tough to go against the UConn and Houston guards that we were picking, but they're so deep.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to even narrow one down. I have a lot of favorites, but Caleb Love is definitely someone that, like, quality of possessions that end with him dribbling, you'd be like, oh, this is probably bad for my team. You want. Like, he is that guy, averaging 19 and 5. He's going to be someone that has experience, obviously, and going on deep runs, but also has a Pac-12 that he kind of owns at the moment. And, their coach is definitely the reason they're seeing. He brought all these players in from either high school, international, transfer portal, whatever. He built this team, I think, to make it, a revenge statement from last year's Princeton one, and it all starts with Love. Like, he bought in right away. People thought he was going to go to a couple different places, ends up there. Love the way he's handling the ball. Can be a little bit of a ball hug at times, but also, you kind of need that. You need someone that you can rely on. He's been that. He hasn't shied away from it. He's better than he was in North Carolina, in my opinion. I like him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like, he's been sensational this year. He's had a couple of moments where he's just had some clutch shots, which have been huge for them. Absolutely huge. And with Arizona too, like, they also got that other guard Boswell, who's incredible. He's awesome. He's awesome offensively, he's awesome defensively. I really like him too. Arizona, they were on my teams I like list. Like, they're on that list, and we talked about them almost being a top dog. They're just sensational. They're one of those teams that were close to the top 10 offense and top 10 defense, fifth in offense, 21st in defense. And that goes to team success, and Caleb Love has definitely helped their team really succeed. And I think he's a clear player on this list. He actually didn't make my list because I overlooked him. So I should have put
I
him on
got
my
you.
list. But yeah, no, that's a good pick. I like him there, 100%. My next pick is going to be R.J. Davis, North Carolina guard, and he's been sensational this year. 21 points, 3.8 rebounds, 3.4 assists. He's just been awesome, and we didn't give North Carolina enough props, like talking about the teams earlier, but they kind of came out of nowhere. They're top 10 team again, and they're back on top of the ACC. And I haven't watched too much in North Carolina, and a lot of people would say, "Oh, it's Baycott." Baycott's been that guy for them, but it's actually R.J. Davis. He's been really the story of this year, and it's just a fantastic shooter. If you shoot the ball at a 41% clip in college, like, that's just ridiculous. And the thing is he's the point guard. Like, the shots he takes are hard shots, and to me, like, whenever I watch him play, like, he's in so much control. His pace is unbelievable, and I love watching him tear apart defenses, and he's great at it. North Carolina's been just a story, and I'm really excited to see North Carolina moving into March because they've been a scary team.
Agreed. It's like someone that I'm probably overlooking just because, like you said, I think they were unranked at one point this year, but
Yeah.
definitely last year. And people were like, can you build a team around Baycott? Like, I didn't think you could. I think flipping the guards that I had, putting RJ over Love, honestly, him without Love has been even better for his game. He's
Yeah.
been able to take over, get his quality shots without having to give them up, but also be relied on a little more. So totally agree. I think honestly, I'd put him at the number one spot right now. Again, a guy not in a UConn or Houston jersey, but I think he'd probably be in that one spot for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great throughout the year, and North Carolina has been really tearing apart the ACC, sitting at first in the ACC, and like, scary team moving into March to me. Like, they just got the pieces, they got the big, they got the guard, and that's going to be tough to handle for anybody coming into March. Who would be your next pick? Moving a little faster here.
Totally. Quickly, because we already talked about him. Five for me would be Baylor Shireman.
Shireman.
Again,
Yeah, I
yeah,
like it.
obviously he has the same stat line as them. He actually elevated his rebounding this year. He's at 9. He is a 6'7" guard. Like, he plays a forward, position a lot of the game because of how commanding his defensive presence needs to be for that team. But when you got a 7'3" guy standing in the middle of the paint, like, you're able to kind of expand your range, which he's been able to do. Stretches defenses, gets the looks he wants. Doesn't make mistakes, doesn't turn the ball over. He's my 5, and I think it's not close just because he can count on him. He's like Kolek if he didn't get hurt. Like, he's just very consistent Big East player.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. We talked about him a lot earlier, and Creighton definitely deserves their props because they're definitely near the top of that Big East for sure. My next
But yeah,
one, we talked about him earlier, Tristan Newton. Tristan Newton's awesome. I feel like he's the leader of that UConn team. You could argue it's Klinning, but I think it's Newton here, and it's because he does it all. Like, I talked about it, how I think is very impressive for 15, 5, and 5. I think that's a really impressive stat line, and he's that guy. He could do it all for them. I really like his game. It's UConn, man. You got to put one of those UConn guys up there for sure.
exactly. Hard to pick one. In my opinion, it's like five
Yeah,
guys that are all
yeah,
going to win,
yeah,
right? Like I said earlier, I love Spencer. Like, the dude doesn't miss.
yeah, yeah,
But I agree. You picked the guy that's going to lead them, and that's needed. Last year we saw that, right, with a couple of their NBA guys. Like, you need people that are going to lead you in March, and he's the guy. So
for sure, for sure.
totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what, 6. Last one I had on my list. I'm not sure you can round it out after this. Last one I had
Okay.
was someone who's actually not going to make the tournament. So Kind of stretching the if not EDU because this guy, I don't even think they're making it. But I don't know if you've been watching, but Isaiah Collier has lived up to the number one player in American basketball right now. I mean, I love what they're doing at Colorado as well. Like, they've got some talent in the Pac-12. People are going to be in the NBA next year, even if we're not going to see him in March. I want to see this guy in March. Like, I think that they can make a run in the Pac-12 tournament. Got to get by, Arizona, but he is incredible. He put up 31 last game. He can stretch, the entire game in terms of minutes, which is pretty special coming off of a couple injuries and rest that he had. But would love it if he landed at the Pistons wherever they pick. I think Collier is the guy. I would want to see him in March. He's clearly most talented, even if he's not a college basketball, legend yet, because he probably won't be around long enough. But I like his game.
Yeah. Collier's someone I definitely need to do a little more work on, film wise, because like just USC not winning, I haven't been watching them too much. And I was locked into the NBA draft last year. I'm not locked in this year because it's a down year for the draft and there's a lot of foreign guys. So like once I do my draft prep, like I'll feel more confident like talking about Collier's game and things of that nature. But from what I've been hearing, he's been great at USC, and USC's definitely got some talent. But with they haven't been winning, and it's been a little bit of a struggle. So hopefully, you're right that they can make a Pac-12 tournament run, and
that'd be awesome
for sure. We'll see for sure. My last guy that I'm gonna pick, and I'm gonna kind of go out of left field in this one, but I'm gonna pick Dayton forward Darren Holmes. And this guy has been really, really good throughout the whole year. And I saw him in person when Oakland went to Dayton, and Dayton absolutely demolished us. They hit like 18 threes, something ridiculous. I think they beat us by 30. But Darren Holmes averaging 20 points, 8 rebounds. Dayton's been great. They're near the top of their conference. I think South Florida kind of controlling that conference a little bit there. But Dayton's been sensational, absolutely sensational throughout the whole year. And it's big part because of Holmes. He's he's big. He gets a lot of rebounds, and 20 points per game is tough in any scenario. And he's been an absolute monster. He's a guy I really like, and Dayton's been great this year. Absolutely great.
Totally agree. I'm glad you picked. I was almost threw in an honorable mention for him just before we got off here because you got to talk about that guy. Like the slides and the losses are definitely going to make their last end of season tournament a little interesting.
Yeah,
because they've had some struggle with the Richmond teams, right? Richmond and VCU both kind of took it to them when they were over there, and even St. Louis recently. So it's tough, but he's out of this world. Like he is, and at one point in the season, the Obi top, and they were looking for in a non-COVID year. Like he is excellent, and I'm excited to watch him.
Yeah, I messed up the South Florida thing, didn't I? South Florida is what conference?
Oh, they're American. They're American.
American, yeah. That's what I knew. I messed up something, but yeah, the South Florida has been great. And then Richmond's at the top of that one. That was the one I messed up.
Yeah.
But Richmond's been great this year, too. They're sitting at the defensive efficiency, too. And they're also a great shooting team, as always. So,
Richmond, no, it's going to be tough. Yeah, Dayton's it's going to be tough to get in. I mean, they clearly have the resume. I think they'll be fine. But you got to win some games in this tournament or else, people are going to look the other way. So
For sure. 100%. Well, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Asher, thank you so much for joining the podcast. This has been a lot of fun, man.
Of course, man. Glad you're back. Obviously excited to talk once we know that a bracket's coming out. So maybe hold off on listening to this till we know we're right. But I'm just excited to see basketball on the screen again.
Yeah, I know. I mean, college basketball season, March it's the best time of year. It's the best time of year. I'm excited to do my big March Madness preview again. It's going to be exciting, and I'm like, basketball season's great. Like I had that stretch where I took some time off, and all I watched was basketball. I did a lot of NBA last week. I watched like 15 NBA games. I watched like an additional 10 college basketball games. Like I was just flowing in basketball, and I'm like, man, I got to talk about this. So I'm excited. I'm pumped for this March. It's going to be great, man. I'm excited.
Yes, it is. No, glad we're back into it, man.
Yes, sir. All right, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube. Go follow on Spotify. Do what you got to do to help out the show. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.